welcome to the Stop Booking Around podcast. I'm Jon Cronshaw.
I'm Russell Evans.
Russell, I gave you some homework last week. I wanted you to give me a very, very long-distance, broad overview of what your story is going to be. So I sent you the thing that was the story core from Libby Hawker's Take Off Your Pants book, and I wanted you to basically come up with a couple of sentences, an elevator pitch for your book. Have you done that?
Yes.
Excellent. No naughty step for you today. So, yeah, I'm going to be doling out punishments and make them more elaborate, more brutal, the more homework you miss. So, try and keep these good.
My book is about Theodora Rose Wishart, who must take control of her afterlife in order to save the underworld from the man she trusts the most.
How did you find that exercise then? I mean, did it help you crystallise your thoughts about what your story is?
Yeah, it does, because the whole idea for the story came from a music video originally. I just liked the imagery in it. And then that imagery grew and grew until it built a world, and then I inserted a protagonist. It's sort of been this very patchwork approach to sort of building this world. So having these points has allowed me to sort of put the world building aside, which is what I enjoy the most, and really focus on what the reader's experience would be, even if it is fairly high fantasy stuff.
I know you've got a kind of background in role-playing games and DMing and things like that. There is a bit of a term in writer circles that's called world builder's disease, but this is essentially...
It sounds familiar.
Yeah, I'm sure you can relate to it, but it's essentially that, you know, we fall in love with the world we create, and I think you can get bogged down in this. I think you can almost lose yourself in the world and lose sight of the story. Focusing on the characters and the plot is going to be really important for you. So one of the things I gave you was this story core. Did you manage to fill that out?
It is this challenge of crystallizing things, because while things are still swimming around in your head, you're like, oh, yeah, I know, I've got a general idea. But yeah, just go through the points you sent over. So like number one, a character. So yes, I have my character. I have my protagonist. I can see them in my mind's eye and how they would react and think and grow in certain situations. I know what my character wants or will eventually want. Part of the journey will be them figuring out what they want. Then the third point is like something prevents them from getting what they want easily, which is in this story, it is essentially going to be the state of the world. Point 4. So the struggle against that force. Now, I've always loved cartoons, anime, action, larger than life things. So, you know, what came to my head when that first saw that, like, so they struggle against that force. So for me, it's like fighting, huge fights. And I was like, it really made me stop for a second and think, well, not all struggles are dynamic and bombastic. I think it's the smaller internal struggles that really endear us to characters. I think a lot of the best authors do that very well. And some of them do it incredibly just on the nose, like Frank Herbert in the Dune series, where you are literally seeing the internal or reading the internal struggles of each character instead of it just sort of being shown through their actions. So I know that really in some ways the biggest struggle the character will have will be themselves. And I think that that struggle is the biggest part of the story. And yeah, whether they succeed or fail. And I think that it doesn't matter whether a character succeeds or fails. That's really more about the plot, which in some ways is kind of superfluous to the characters, because you might have an amazing plot, but if your characters are just paper cutouts and stereotypes, it doesn't really matter, because
I'm glad that's the conclusion you've drawn, because that's really important.
In terms of that, like the story core and those 5 questions, I feel like for each one, I don't necessarily have the most crystallized form of that answer yet, that I couldn't really succinctly go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, here are the answers, but I know what the answers to those questions are in general, and I know how I want them to be implemented in the story.
Now you've got your story core, now you've got your elevator pitch. I think we've got a foundation to build on. I think you need to keep these together and just keep kind of referring back to them. You know, you can change them and things like that, but the fact now you've got something to base your story on, I think that's going to be really useful. So what I want you to do then is draw up a bit of a character sketch. It doesn't have to be amazingly detailed, of your protagonist. And just for a bit of fun as well, I'd like you to think about your character's voice and maybe their actions. And you can do this in a bit of it's kind of a cheating way, I guess. I don't know if it is. I do with my characters what I do a thing called casting characters, where I will pick a character from a film. Say, for example, one of my characters might be based on Tom Hanks in Big. They're not, but, that would be an example. And then that'll help you think about how they look, how they act, how they might respond to things.
Yes.
And, you don't have to stick rigidly to that, but it's having points to jump off from.
The character's been in my head for long enough now. If I can't do it at this point, I might as well just not make any more podcasts.
We'll see. See you next week.
Okay.
I want to thank you for listening. The thing that I want to say now is if you're enjoying this show, please help to spread the word. Share it with an author friend. Share it with someone else who said to you, I've been wanting to write a book for years and I haven't. Hopefully this podcast will give them the motivation. And then once you've done that, if you could leave a review on iTunes, just a few words, 5 stars, that would be wonderful. It'll help spread the word, get more people listening to the show and hopefully inspired by Russ's ongoing journey, his hero's journey.
Validate me.
Yeah. Just wait until you hit your all is lost moment.
Yeah.
Part way through the second act. Remember, you can follow me on Twitter. It's at JL Cronshaw. Find me online. It's joncronshaw.com. I've put some links in the show notes to some useful resources. So until next time, cheerio.
Bye.